Hi, this is the Chronicles of Apple from the Apple of My Eye, and I'm going over the topic of black people. And what I want to show you is that the concept of being black or white is a complete joke. And this is because the classification was established in order to actually divide human beings. Because as you can see, most people are not black or white. We are brown, different shades of color. Okay, so it says here black people is a term used in certain countries often in socially based systems of racial classification or ethnicity to describe a person who are perceived to be dark-skinned compared to the other given population. As such, the meaning of expression varies wildly both between and within societies and depends significantly on context. For many other individual communities and countries, black is also perceived as derogatory, outdated, reductive, or otherwise unrepresentative label, and as a result is neither used nor defined. So they have this concept that, oh, well, you are pigmented, therefore you are African. Well, that's really silly, to say the least, because I'm going to show you a series of pictures. And these people are not necessarily from Africa. Okay? Indian people have dark skin. Are they going to be considered black? Okay. Somalian people, are they considered black because they're African? Look at the face. Some of the features here that you will see don't look completely like we perceive as Africans. Okay? What is that? Okay, the person has blue eyes. Okay, this person has freckles. This is Maori. Oh, and here. Of course, everybody's going to say, oh, that's definitely African. These are Asian people. Okay? Asian people. Okay? Now this one. Is it black or is it Indian? This is an Indian person, American Indian. Now look at this person. Okay, look at her features. Doesn't that look European? This is a very European style facial anatomy. If you were to get the skull of this woman, you would never ever guess that she's African. Okay, so here. Blonde, many of them can also be blue-eyed. These are not fully albino. This is just showing you that when you lose some of your alleles, you're going to end up looking like this. These are Papua New Guineans. They're not even Africans, okay? This here, does she look Asian or does she look African? If you straighten this girl's hair, she is Asian looking. Asian looking. Okay? Look at the facial feature of this girl. Okay? If you give her a blonde wig and you paint her face white, she is looking more like European. Okay, and here's a Latina, right? Latina. Here is an Indian girl, East Indian. Same girl. I just photo shoot it. I just photo edited it. Okay. Same girl. Okay. Here's an Italian looking girl, right? Italian looking girl. Photo edited. This is what she really looks like. She looked like a mixed race. Okay. Same exact. If I turned her hair blonde and I changed her eye color of the eyebrow, you wouldn't even guess it. And of course, Asian people are not blonde, blue-eyed. Here's a really blonde one, albino, albinism. Okay, naturally occurring. Once every person of different quote race, which is really a fakery, it's every person is related to the darker, more pigmented ancestors. So what makes people of a race? It's nothing but a joke, because as you can see, Your skin color is only skin deep. Okay, it's only skin deep. Now, if we look at what makes certain animals of a particular species, okay, this is the definition of a species. In biology, a species with a pluriform species is a basic unit of biological classification in a taxonomical rank. Species is often defined as the largest group of organisms in which two individuals can produce fertile offspring, typically by sexual reproduction. While this is definite, is often inadequate. Look at more closely, it is often problematic. For example, in a species complex, the boundaries between closely related species becomes unclear and disappears altogether. Other ways of defining species include similarity of DNA, morphology, or ecological niche. The presence of locally adapted traits may further subdivide species into infraspecific taxa, such as subspecies. Most of this idea of species is also stemming from Darwinian, by the way. Now, this is to prove to you that historically, through the Bible, it is said that Adam is actually, in Hebrew, meaning man, is actually also called red. So Adam in Hebrew, it's like you're talking about blood, it's red. So Adam has blood, he is also red. His skin is red. Thereby, that tells you that the ancestors are really more pigmented. Okay, so over time you lose some of these alleles, and the skin color is multifactorial, and that is explained by this particular thing on human molecular genetics. And it's a very long information that goes on and on and on, but it's basically telling you that all this stuff here, this SLN blah 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 blah, 3 casual SNPs within SLC 45A2, SLC 24A5, and OCA has assessed their impact on melanin content. So that means that what is impacting the melanin content are those particular molecules. Biogeneticists or the melanin biosynthetic pathway are candidates to explain the diversity seen in human pigmentation. It is multifactorial. The sunlight itself will change your color, but genetically different alleles are factored in what makes a person darker or lighter. Over time, from our ancestors who were very red, you end up with people who are lighter and lighter because they lose some of the alleles for color, skin coloring. Now, once you mate with somebody who doesn't have much pigment, the children will have less and less darker coloring. So biology will also speak of mitochondrial Eve, okay? And this one in particular is stating that a lot of people stem from one woman, and that is the genetic marker that they're looking at. And they ended up calling it the mitochondrial Eve. And then they backpedals and say, no, Eve is not the only one living. But most of the human beings are from her. Okay, so color symbolism in Freemasonry, and this is where I am going to explain that the idea of being black or white actually came from the Masons. Okay, color symbolism in Freemasonry, they have different codes, white being more, you know, it has some biblical sort of root also, but the white being more symbol of good, to say the least. And this one says, among the Romans, unblemished character of a person aspiring to public office was indicated by a toga whitened with chalk. This is often the world candidate from candidatus, dressed in white. Verdict of trials was decided by small stones thrown into an urn, white to absolve, black to condemn. So white signifies beginnings, virtualities, the white page facing the writer, the space where the possible may become reality. White is therefore understandably the color of initiation. Okay? Now, what does black mean in Freemasonry? There are three fundamental colors found in this civilization down to the Middle Ages in Europe are white, red, and black. These two may be regarded as principal colors of Freemasonry, the white of the craft degrees, the red for the royal arch and a certain of the degrees of ancient and accepted rite, and the black of some of its others in the Knight of Malta. Traditionally, black is the color of darkness, death, the underworld, although it is not introduced for mourning until about the middle of the 4th century. So black humor or melancholy. So basically, it's kind of like what we think of as black and white, the duality. And it's very Freemasonry, but I also think that this black and white classification of human is to kind of force people to be one or the other. You know, you're either going to be black or white, and that's divide and conquer concept that the enemy wants to promote. So one of the reasons, and I want you to pull out the Kohanim DNA. Okay, one of the reasons why you will see a lot of Africans being sucked into this concept that they are black is because they don't want them to know about this particular part of African history, quote-unquote African history. Many of these quote-unquote Africans, many of them had come from Israel. They were pushed away because there was a death sentence over many Israelites. So many of the darker-skinned Israelites went further up, and they end up in Egypt, they end up in different parts of Africa, because it's one continent, and they forgot their history. But when they're talking about the Kohanim DNA connection, there are fragments of these Africans that are practicing Judaic principles and teachings, and they are from the line of Aaron, the Kohanim, and they are the biggest, most powerful teacher in the history of the Bible. The Kohanim, the Levites, meaning they are the priestly sectors. So you will see that Freemasonry will always suck in many Jewish people and many of these Kohanim. So perhaps the same people who are very magnetic and with charisma, the enemy will pull these bloodline to do its will instead and giving them money. So the Kohanim, that's something for people to kind of research, and I'm probably going to go more deeply into this another time. You can't place the Jewish people as being only dark or only white. They are a very diverse group of people. Now, we're going to go over some issues of Zionism. What you will see is that the Freemasons sort of pretended to be Zionists in order to defame the idea and the concept of what Zion means. Zion is basically Jerusalem. It's talking about the promise, Son of God, to take away the sins of the earth. Okay, so Zionism is, God's favorite place is Zion. Okay, and it would say here, and I just posed a question, what is Zion? What is Mount Zion? What is the biblical meaning of Zion? The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the other dwellings of Jacob. Jacob is from the line of, we'll end up with the line of Judah. So Jacob's fourth son is Judah. That's where the word Jew came from. However, the Israelites, Kohanim, the Levites, okay, many of these teachers and these priests are considered a Kohanim. They are darker skinned, some of them, at the least. So it says that the word Zion occurred 150 times in the Bible. Actually, in some places it says way more than that, more like 600. It essentially means fortification, raised up, or monument. The first mention of Zion in the Bible, that David captured the fortress of Zion, which is the city of David. Zion was originally an ancient Jebusite fortress in the city of Jerusalem. After David's conquest of the fortress, Jerusalem became the possession of Israel. The royal palace was built there, and Zion, Jerusalem, became the seat of power in Israel's kingdom. Come, let us go up to Zion, the Lord our God. The word Zion is also used theoretically and spiritually in the sense of scripture. Israel as the people of God. Okay, so the word Israel came about from the word Jacob. So I'm going to continue on.